Hello, it's week 6. I want to review a little bit of what happened. You've just completed working on HTML and you're thinking about grouping and taxonomies. So those are all very important. And this is sort of ending our research phase, right? So in order to take data and turn it into information, you really needed to do these steps. I will counsel you all that all of these steps are going to be used in our final paper. So just remember, hey, I looked at data, which is going to be a big part of understanding how the service that you're going to choose works. You're going to look at that data, and then you're going to see how did they structure that data into some sort of visual, or well, normally it's visual, but if you look into the HTML, you're going to see that that structure that they've created, this repeating structure, is extremely, well, it's very repetitive, so it's kind of something that they craft fairly deliberately. And that's going to be something you're also going to analyze using the same ideas that you used in your HTML, which is what sections might be important, what things are emphasized, especially as it comes to things like how we use hierarchies. And the grouping, I hope you start to see, is going to be helpful, because as we begin to visualize things, it's not always something that you have the ability to show everything all at once. That's absolutely a big deal. You might have to have a preview and then you click through to see more or something like that. And that's exactly where we're going to head this week. We're going to start doing things that other people can see. So if we were in our research phase, we were doing this all sort of for ourselves to understand our topic and to understand what's important in terms of the structure. Now we want to show things to other people, other stakeholders in the organization. We want to start to organize it in a way that they can connect to. So hopefully a lot of these examples were helpful. I know we worked a lot on just what was the point of this HTML, and that's fine. I think hopefully you got some idea about a restrictive vocabulary is very helpful rather than just making everything up. I will just go quickly. You thought about keywords. A lot of the thing about keywords is those unique phrases. That is just a internet thing. If you guys have searched the internet, you realize you don't want to use generic phrases because they can return way too many different results. So if there's a unique phrase or two, it can get you much higher in being able to be seen and understood by the engines that go and parse through all your content and try to understand what it is, which is a fun idea, right? It's very meta. As we went through, I think I mentioned to a couple of people that in the world we live in today, GPT is great for asking about taxonomies. I didn't know about a few of them, but GPT seems to have a pretty good, at least it'll get you in the right ballpark as to how people categorize your particular topic. There were some others that came through at the last minute, which I think some people did really wonderful finding and or identifying the taxonomies. Here's the important thing. How many terms are there? So think about that. There are 5, it makes, well, that's one thing. If there's 50, that's another thing. So taxonomies don't have to have any limit to them. I mean, I think they probably fall apart at 50, to be quite honest. They're not maybe that useful, but then they probably do compounds where there's a hierarchy of a dominant and a subcategory, categories, subcategories, things like that. Like books are a good example. There's some major categories, but then there's minor categories. So number of things is going to be important, as we're going to try to put them on a screen at some point. And sorting and filtering is the goal of those taxonomies. They tend to be, the reason why we're saying they're nouns is because, they're kind of like facts. Like, there's either small, medium, large, extra large. See what I mean? They come with some kind of limit and a understood usage. So let's get into where we can be much more subjective. So in this case, this is about verbs. This is really, we're going to start studying now, and this is the beginning of a 3-week exercise. So we're going to be doing this for 3 weeks, and it'll end up in each piece of this will be the final deliverable that you'll submit to Canvas. So it's a lot of pieces. I think I'm recommending at this point, well, let's just get into it. So we're going to talk about how do we organize the content at a very high level, and we're going to use this concept of a sitemap. I'm not really that interested in a site. I'm more interested in what are the terms at a very high level that you can use to organize your content. And there are lots of different ways, and we're going to look through those. As usual, I think there's a lot of info I give out in these videos. Feel free to watch them or not. I think however you are understanding some of this is more like a lecture about why do we navigate. And by the way, we are going to learn navigation this week. So in this case, one of the exercises is to see that these design patterns, these navigation patterns, are seen all across the internet. They're fairly they're very well used. And the goal right now is to find one and then post it here. And you pick one, and I would like you all to pick a different one. So if you want to, you just want to put the word here and put your name or something like that. You're just looking to see, can I discover these things? And because you might use them, and you will use them because you're going to start to draw, and you'll need to figure out where do you put your navigation items. So that's what this exercise is about. Then we're going to make ourselves a sitemap. I just did it here, and it is pretty large, but we got a lot of room here. You can do it in another program. I don't really mind. It's one of those things that I do recommend a program called Figma, but there are other drawing programs out there. You're just trying to basically boxes, So in this case, my perfume, I want to do it by name, by process, or by smell. And then there's a subtopic here of what are the processes, and then what are the smells, and then there's a search. We're not going to do anything to do with free text searches, and we are not interested in building out a site. We're really trying to show, again, at a high level, you usually get 5, if you're 3, 5, 7 seem to be popular ways to organize large pieces of content, and you're organizing them in any way you like. So this is where a lot of last week was not so creative. This week can be creative. I really liked Airbnb. They organize their things by OMG, right? That's a nice organizational concept. Now it does mean that in your data you need a piece of text that says OMG. As a category. So it doesn't have to be part of your taxonomy, it can be part of another field, but just to keep you honest, we do want to still continue to use and reference the work that you've done in hierarchies, etc. So, here's a good example of a, there's a picture, there's a header, and then there's, a subheader, and then there's, so that's what you did last week. I like, the reason why it's called verbs this week is I particularly like navigation to be about goals. And I like them to be verbs, rather than nouns. So if you're thinking at the very top, how do I organize this? Is it going to be using your taxonomies? Is it going to be using the data? It probably won't use any of the data because you're coming up with a much bigger concept as to, do you want to do this? Well, here's a way to get at a set of data, and then you can filter that data. Hopefully that makes some sense. I don't want to spoil it because, as with everything, give it a try. At Mention Me, ask for some comments and some feedback, and good luck on the new project. And as I said, someone else can see this, right? So we're hoping that this is the beginning that you can start a dialogue.